Here's something I want you to sit with for a moment. There are families in this country, old families, who have been wealthy for over 100 years, 6 generations, 7 in some cases. They survived the Great Depression. They survived 2 world wars. They survived the dot-com crash, 2008, and everything that's come since. And if you were to sit down to dinner with one of them tonight, money would never come up. Not once. Not the amount they have. Not what they paid for the house. Not how the portfolio is doing. Nothing. And here's the part that most people completely miss. That silence is not an accident. It is the strategy. It is, in fact, one of the primary reasons the money is still there and why it will still be there long after you and I are gone. Stick around, because by the end of this, you're going to see silence and old money very differently. Most of what the world teaches you about wealth is wrong. Not maliciously wrong, just surface level wrong. Because what gets shown to you on social media, in magazines, in music videos, is new wealth, recent wealth, wealth that's still announcing itself. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the full picture. Old money, the kind of wealth that outlasts generations, operates by a completely different rule book. A rule book that was never written down, never published, never posted online. It was passed down in conversations at dinner tables, and on long walks, and in quiet moments between a parent and a child. Most people will never get access to that rule book. Today, you do. What I'm going to walk you through are the real reasons why old money families don't talk about their wealth, and why that silence is one of the most powerful financial decisions they make, over and over again, generation after generation. Some of this is going to feel counterintuitive. Some of it might even feel a little uncomfortable if you're honest with yourself. But that's usually how you know something is true. Let's get into it. The first and most practical reason old money doesn't discuss money is protection. When you announce your wealth, even casually, even among people you trust, you create targets, lawsuits, opportunistic relationships, distant relatives who suddenly remember your birthday, employees who renegotiate, contractors who adjust their pricing, business partners who reframe the deal. There's an old saying in certain circles, let the lawyers know the number. Nobody else needs to. And they mean it. Old money families instinctively understand that broadcasting wealth is a liability. It invites friction. Every conversation about how much something cost, how the investments are performing, what the estate is worth, each one of those conversations is a small leak in the hull of a ship you're trying to sail for a century. The wealthy don't plug those leaks reactively. They simply never make them. Here's a cultural truth that surprises people when they first encounter it. In old money circles, talking openly about wealth, what things cost, what you made, what you're worth, is considered genuinely embarrassing, almost gauche. It signals in their eyes that you need the validation, that the money isn't secure enough on its own, that it needs an audience. Think about it this way. The person who tells you how much their watch costs is not the person who has 5 of them. The person who mentions their bonus at dinner probably needed that bonus more than they'd like to admit. Old money learned long ago. The truly secure don't perform their security. They simply are secure. The money is just background noise, present, quiet, and entirely unremarkable. Stop. Let that sink in. The absence of discussion about wealth is itself a signal of wealth. When you stop needing money to define you, money stops being the point of the conversation. This one surprises most people. Old money families, even ones sitting on 9, 10 figures of wealth, often raise their children to believe money is limited, that budgets exist, that things must be earned. This isn't hypocrisy, it's engineering. They understand something that lottery winners and overnight millionaires often learn the hard way. Wealth handed to someone who doesn't understand its weight gets destroyed. Fast. There are studies on this. Third-generation wealth collapse is so common, it has a name. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. It's a phenomenon documented across cultures. The old money solution? Don't let the children know the full picture too early. Let them develop a relationship with work, with earning, with delayed gratification before they ever understand what they're actually sitting on. One family I'm aware of, old Philadelphia money, going back to the 1800s, had a rule. The children received a normal allowance, did chores, attended public school through 8th grade, and were never told the family's net worth until age 25. Not as cruelty, as curriculum. Old money doesn't teach financial literacy by sitting a child down with a spreadsheet. It happens at the dinner table, in the questions asked, in the values modeled by the adults in the room. What did you work on this week? Not, what do you want? What do we owe to the people around us? Not, how much did that cost? What are we building? Not, what are we buying? The language used around wealth, even when wealth is never directly mentioned, shapes how the next generation thinks about it. Old money families are extraordinarily deliberate about this, even if they couldn't articulate it as a strategy if you ask them. It's simply how they were raised, and how they raise their children, and how those children will raise theirs. Comment below, what did your family teach you about money growing up? And do you think it was the right lesson? Here's something a bit more philosophical, but bear with me because this one is real. There's a strange psychological phenomenon where the more you talk about what you want or what you have, the less motivated you are to protect or grow it. Psychologists call it social reality substitution. Essentially, the brain receives some of the satisfaction of the goal simply from the act of announcing it. Old money figured this out intuitively, generations before behavioral economists put a name on it. When wealth is quiet, it stays hungry. It stays alert. It doesn't get complacent because it never got celebrated. The family that quietly owns significant real estate across 3 states and never brings it up at a party, those are the people growing it, not the ones posting about it. Generational wealth requires generational cohesion, and nothing fractures family cohesion faster than open, explicit conversations about who has what. Old money families are exceptionally skilled at keeping financial matters within a very small, trusted circle. Typically the family patriarch or matriarch, the family attorney, and the family's long-term financial advisors. Everyone else, including most family members, operates on a need-to-know basis. This isn't secrecy for its own sake. It's architecture. When cousins don't know how much the trust is worth, there's no jockeying for position. When siblings don't know who got what, there's no scorekeeping. The silence removes the kindling for the fires that have burned down wealthy families from the inside for centuries. In the modern world, this one has become even more relevant. The ultra-wealthy, especially the old money set, understand that public attention on your finances creates friction in every direction. Tax scrutiny, public pressure, legal exposure, political vulnerability, journalists, competitors who now know exactly what you have. There's a reason you don't know the names of the wealthiest real estate families in your city. It's not because they're not wealthy, it's because attention is expensive, and they've decided not to pay that tax. The people you do know, the ones in every magazine and on every TV show, are often managing their public profile as part of their wealth strategy. But that's a very different game, with very different rules and very different risks. Old money largely opted out of that game a long time ago. Here's one of the most powerful things I can share with you. Old money families understand that the most important financial education their children receive isn't formal, it's observational. Children who grow up watching parents handle money with calm, with discipline, with quiet confidence, those children internalize that relationship with money before they ever earn a dollar of their own. They've seen what security looks like. They've seen how decisions get made. They've absorbed the tone of wealth before they've touched any of it. And here's the key part. Because money was never dramatized at home, never fought over, never celebrated, never mourned, It doesn't carry emotional weight for them the way it does for most people. It's just a resource, a tool, something you manage thoughtfully and then get on with the rest of your life. Stop. Let that one sit for a moment. Most people grow up where money is either the source of stress or the source of celebration. In both cases, it's the emotional center of the home. Old money deliberately removes that emotional charge, and in doing so, they raise children who are genuinely free from money's psychological grip, which, ironically, makes them much better at managing it. There's an old aristocratic maxim, attributed to different sources depending on who you ask, that goes, never explain, never complain. Old money lives by this. They don't explain their financial decisions to people outside the inner circle. They don't complain about taxes or costs or losses, at least not publicly, because both explanation and complaint are forms of disclosure. And disclosure is something they treat with extraordinary care. This might sound cold, but here's the reframe. It's actually deeply dignified. It's the posture of someone who is so secure in their position that they don't need external validation of their choices. You'll notice that the wealthiest, most established families in any country are also among the most privately composed. That's not coincidence. That's practice, passed down through generations until it becomes character. And this is the one that ties it all together. Old money doesn't talk about money because for them, money long ago stopped being the goal. It became the infrastructure, the foundation beneath everything else. The thing that makes life possible, not the thing that is life. What they talk about instead? Legacy, values, stewardship, contribution. The family name and what it stands for beyond any balance sheet. The generation building wealth talks about money constantly because they're still in the process of creating the foundation. But the generation that has had wealth long enough to understand it, they've moved on to the conversation above the money. And paradoxically, that mental shift from accumulating to stewarding is exactly what ensures the money survives. Because you protect what you truly value. And old money has decided that what they value is not the number, it's what the number makes possible. For every generation to come. So let me bring this back to you. You don't need a family estate or a trust fund to apply what we talked about today. You need something more valuable than either of those things. A different relationship with money. One where it's not the headline of your life, where it's quiet, working in the background, while you live something worth protecting. That's the real lesson old money has been teaching for centuries. And now you know it too. If this gave you a different lens on wealth, a new way of seeing how this world actually operates, you know what to do. Subscribe to Rich Foundations, because we're just getting started pulling back the curtain. Next week, we're going inside the specific financial structures old money families use to make sure wealth doesn't just survive one generation, but 10. And trust me, your financial advisor has never explained this to you. See you there.